Hi guys, it's Prince from GG and Prince here with a Dark Magician deck profile. So this is a pure Dark Magician deck, leveraging a lot of the support that the archetype has gotten over the past few years. I will say it's not meta competitive, although it is pretty good overall. It does a lot of banishing, and you do have some pretty powerful boss monsters in your extra deck. Also, one neat thing about this deck is its ability to flood the field with Dark Magician monsters and Dark Magician Girl with a lot of the graveyard recursion cards that we have. To start it off, we're playing 3 copies of the Ultimate Wizard himself, Dark Magician. I have seen builds similar to this that play 2 copies of him, although we are playing an Xyz monster that actually has a pretty nice effect that necessitates that you play 3 of him. You always want to see this card either in your graveyard or maybe even in your hand. And, if you're not able to get into your extra deck, one strategy to win with this deck is to keep summoning him off Eternal Soul. So having him recycling from your graveyard to the field over and over is actually really nice. We're playing 1 copy of Dark Magician Girl. She's great for enabling Soul Servants draw 2. She also is really good because we're playing a Magician Salvation, the field spell. Whenever you summon a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl, you're able to summon the other one from your graveyard. So it helps build up your field presence and can help get you into your link plays or even your Xyz plays. We're playing 1 Palladium Oracle Mahad. This turns Soul Servant into a draw 3 if you have all 3 of these in your graveyard. If you draw him, you can special summon him immediately. And if he battles a dark monster, his attack is doubled, so it becomes 5,000 attack during the damage step. He also floats into a Dark Magician if he's destroyed by battle or card effect. So all around, a pretty good card to have. I will say I see him in my opening hand way too often, which is kind of ridiculous because he's at 1, and if you draw him in your opening hand, you can't special summon him, so he's kind of a dead card. But drawing him in your draw phase during any follow-on turn is actually pretty neat since you have an instant level 7 special summon. Next, we're playing 1 copy of Magician of Chaos. This card is actually pretty nuts. It's Dark Magician on the field or graveyard, so he is special summonable off Eternal Soul if you ritual summon him properly. He also can destroy 1 card on the field anytime a spell or trap is activated once per turn. So basically you get a pop once during your turn, once during your opponent's turn. And if he's destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can special summon a Chaos or BLS, Blackluster Soldier, Ritual Monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. So if you are going to be using that effect, the monster you're probably going to be summoning is Illusion of Chaos, of which we play 2. So actually, very rarely summon this card. You're primarily going to use it as a starter since you can reveal him and search a Dark Magician or any monster that mentions Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. So really this helps you get into your Magician's Rod or your Magician's Souls or whatever monster you're missing at the time. Any of these can also be used as fusion material for one of your boss monsters, Master of Chaos, since all of these are Chaos Ritual monsters. But again, this is a great card to have on your field since he's a Dark Magician and pops cards. But he's really good to have in your hand. It allows you to search your deck. We're then playing 1 copy of Apprentice Illusion Magician. You can special summon her by discarding a card, and if she is summoned, you can add a Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. So it's good for pulling out a Dark Magician there. It's actually her other effect that comes up more often. So if one of your other Dark Spellcasters battles an opponent's monster, you can quick effect tribute her from your hand or field and make your monster gain 2,000 attack. So if your opponent's monster attacks you, or if you have to get over a pretty beefy monster, she can come in pretty clutch. We're also playing 1 Timaeus, the United Dragon. He's a walking polymerization. Some of your boss monsters are a Dark Magician and a Dragon monster, and he is most often used for that. That also doesn't hurt that he's fairly powerful at a 2800 attack and is special summonable by tributing any spellcaster monster or spell or trap that mentions Dark Magician. We're then playing 3 copies of one of your key starters, Magician's Rod. This is probably the only card that you'll be normal summoning. So on normal summon, he lets you add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that mentions Dark Magician. So depending on what key piece of your combo you're missing, you can search with this card. We're then playing 3 copies of Magician's Souls. So this card is also pretty nuts. Lets you dump a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl to from deck to graveyard, so helps mill your deck. And then you actually have the option of one of 2 effects. You can special summon this card, or otherwise you can send it to the graveyard and summon a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard. Now, while it's face up on the field, it has a pretty neat effect that you can discard up to 2 spells or traps from your hand or field and draw those many cards. So if you have any dead spell or traps in your hand, you can summon souls, discard, get some draw power, and then link this away or attribute it or continue extending your plays. We're also playing 1 copy of Magikuriboh. This card actually comes up quite a bit. So whenever you take battle damage or effect damage, you can send this card to the graveyard and summon a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from deck or graveyard. So it helps, again, pull these monsters out of your deck. Also, if a spellcaster monster you control is destroyed by any effect or by battle, you can add this card from the graveyard back to your hand. So it's pretty recyclable and comes up quite a bit in terms of being able to pull out Dark Magicians from your deck as quickly as possible. We're then playing 1 copy of Effect Veiler. It's a good hand trap to have. It also is a spellcaster, so having it in your graveyard enables Magicalized Fusion, which we'll see later, since you can use this as fusion material from your graveyard. To round out the monsters, we're playing 1 Bystial Magnamhut. This is mainly in there to get another dragon for your dragon fusions. It also helps you search Timaeus when you summoned. You can search a dragon in the end phase. That does it for the monsters. On to the spells. To start off the spells, we're playing 2 copies, of Dark Magical Circle. This card is one of the most powerful Dark Magician spell cards. On activation, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck. If one of those is a Dark Magician or a spell or trap that mentions him, you can add it to your hand and put the remaining cards back in whatever order. Also, whenever a Dark Magician is summoned to your field, you can target and banish one of your opponent's cards. So this, being able to cycle Dark Magician back to the field, getting a banish, it's one of this deck strategy to help break your opponent's boards. We're then playing 3 copies of Soul Servant. This pairs really nicely with Dark Magical Circle, since you can stack your deck with any card that mentions Dark Magician. You can also banish this from your graveyard and draw cards equal to the number of Dark Magician, Dark Magician Girl, or Palladium monsters, so up to 3 in this deck. So it can be pretty powerful in terms of getting card advantage. We're then playing 1 copy of Magician's Salvation, or field spell. On activation, it lets you set Eternal Soul directly from your deck. So this actually might be one of your targets to search off Magician's Rod. It also has a pretty great second effect that is used pretty heavily in this deck, where I mentioned earlier, you summon a Dark Magician or Girl, and you get to summon the other one from your graveyard. So this can help beef up your side of the field, either defensively or to start link climbing into some of your boss monsters. We're playing 1 Bond between teacher and student. So if you control a Dark Magician, you can special summon a Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and then set one of the mentioned cards. So we're playing 2 of actually those mentioned cards. We're playing 1 Dark Magic Attack, which is basically a Harpie's Feather Duster whenever you have a Dark Magician. And then 1 Dark Burning Magic. So since this deck, you actually do see Dark Magician Girl on your field pretty often, or she's pretty easy to get there. This card is pretty powerful. So if you control both of the Magician duo, you destroy all cards your opponent controls. So this is a board breaker that'll really help you OTK if it comes up. We're playing 1 copy of Illusion Magic. This it's a quick play spell, lets you tribute a spellcaster and add up to 2 copies of Dark Magician from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can use this to help your Magician's Rod dodge an imperm, or actually even your Magician's Souls. If your opponent tries to negate an on-field effect of one of your monsters, you can get this get it off the field, and also lets you pull Dark Magicians out of your deck. We're playing 2 copies of Preparation of Rites. This helps you search for any of your 3 Chaos monsters that you're playing, primarily used to get to Illusion of Chaos, but you could use it to get to Magician of Chaos if needed. Continuing on the ritual theme, we're playing 1 Chaos Form and 1 Advanced Ritual Art. Chaos Form does come up sometimes, but Advanced Ritual Art is actually quite useful since it allows you to dump a Dark Magician from your deck in order to ritual summon. So it is kind of nice to be able to mill your deck that way. Now on to some of the fusion cards. We're playing 2 copies of Secrets of Dark Magic. This card comes up a lot. It's the primary way by which you're fusing or getting into your fusion monsters. And it's a quick play spell, so having this in your hand during your battle phase can help OTK your opponent. We're then playing 1 copy of Eye of Timaeus. This can actually turn a Dark Magician into any fusion monster that mentions him, so you actually don't need a second fusion material monster. The downside is this actually doesn't mention the card Dark Magician specifically, it just mentions a Dark Magician monster, so you can actually use this on Dark Magician Girl, but because of it, this is not searchable by Magician's Rod. So kind of a downside there, which is why we only play 1, otherwise it clogs up the deck. But if you draw this, this plus a Dark Magician on the field is an instant Dragoon. We're then playing 1 copy of Magicalized Fusion. That lets you banish fusion materials from your graveyard to fusion summon. It can come up, so it's a pretty handy card to have. We do play a Quintet Magician in the extra deck, and if you happen to have 5 spellcasters in your graveyard, summoning Quintet Magician using this, it will probably win you the game. We're playing 1 Piercing the Darkness to help with draw power. This also beefs up your normal monsters, so Dark Magician during battle phase. You can allow it to gain the attack of the monster that it's battling with, so it can help them get pretty massive. We're playing 1 Triple Tactics Talent for draw power, or also to steal your opponent's monster. You can also hand rip a card out of your opponent's hand, but that effect doesn't come up super often, since most often than not you're using this card to draw 2. We're playing 1 Monster Reborn, just to be able to reborn any monsters that we need. You can swap this out, or even cut it all together. It did come up and saved me a couple of times, being able to resummon a Dark Magician when I had no other way to get him back. To round out the spells, we're playing 1 Harpie's Feather Duster to deal with back row, and then 1 Called by the Grave to protect your plays, or to get rid of pesky monsters in your opponent's graveyard. That does it for the spells. On to the traps. So we're playing a pretty light trap lineup here. We're playing 2 copies of Eternal Soul, which is a very important card for Dark Magician. This is it's key to allowing you to recycle your Dark Magician from the graveyard or hand. This plus your Dark Magical Circle and a Dark Magician in the grave is basically a banish every turn. Lastly, we're playing 1 Magician's Navigation. This lets you special summon a Dark Magician from your hand, and then also summon a level 7 or lower Dark Spellcaster from your deck, so it can help get into your Xyz plays or help you link climb. You can also banish this from your graveyard and negate a spell or trap your opponent controls, so it does have a nice protective effect there too. That does it for the traps in the main deck. On to the extra deck. So to start off, we're playing 2 copies of the big bad boy himself, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This is your primary boss monster. In this deck, he gets you 1 monster pop plus burn damage. He also has an Omni Negate and can get really big. If you're able to fuse your Dark Magician to anything, your best bet is probably to go into him. The other option, if you're able to fuse a Dark Magician with a dragon, is Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, of which we're playing 1. So I like to call one of the key win conditions of this deck the Dark Magician Triangle, where you have this card, an Eternal Soul, and a Dark Magical Circle. This card protects all of your spells and traps from being targeted or destruction by card effects. It also counts as a Dark Magician on the field and graveyard, so you can keep summoning him, getting your Dark Magical Circle banished, and he protects your Eternal Soul and Dark Magical Circle from being destroyed. He's also 3000 attack to boot, so not a weak monster to get over. We're then playing 1 copy of Master of Chaos. This takes a Dark Magician and a Chaos Ritual monster as material. So one thing that actually has come up a lot is being able to quick play fuse into him with your Secrets of Dark Magic during the battle phase. You can, attack with a Dark Magician, fuse into him with a Chaos monster either in your hand or field, and then on summon, he actually lets you special summon a light or a dark monster from your graveyard, so it can help extend your battle phase. It also has a board wipe capability, so you contribute 1 dark and 1 light monster and banish all monsters your opponent controls, so non-targeting banish. So that actually is really helpful to get rid of a strong board that you might not be able to beat over or destroy in some way. We're then playing 1 copy of the Dark Magicians. This is helpful if you only have a Dark Magician Girl and a way to fuse. It helps you get into draw power. The most important part about this card is if it's destroyed by any means, it floats into a Dark Magician and a Dark Magician Girl that can be summoned from anywhere. So it, again, helps flood your field. The other effect that it has is whenever a spell or trap is activated, you can draw a card once per turn. So it does help extend your plays there. To round out the fusion monsters, we're playing 1 Quintet Magician. Doesn't really come up super often, but if you happen to have 5 Spellcaster monsters in your grave and a Magicalized Fusion, this is a 4,500 attack monster that cannot be tributed or used as fusion material or destroyed by card effects. So pretty hard to get over. We're playing 1 Chaos Angel. You can actually get into this with a Dark Magician and your Magician's Rod. On summon, you get a Banish. And since you'll be making him with dark monsters, you get one of his effects that monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, which is actually a pretty neat protection to have. We're playing 1 Ebon Illusion Magician. So this is the card I mentioned earlier, the Xyz card that necessitates you play 3 Dark Magicians. So you can actually detach a material from this card and special summon a spellcaster or normal monster from your hand or deck. So you Xyz into him with 2 Dark Magicians, detach one to pull out the 3rd from your deck. Whenever a spellcaster, normal monster, declares an attack, you can actually target and banish one of your opponent's cards. So, you know, having this and a Dark Magician on the field is a pretty powerful combo. For the Link monsters, we're playing 1 Relinquished Anima. You can link off your Magician's Souls into this and steal an opponent's monster if it comes up. We're playing 1 Imduk, the Royal Chalice Dragon. You can link off a Dark Magician to get him into the grave for, you know, Eternal Soul Summon and Dark Magical Circle Banish. He's also a dragon, so it's, you know, additional material for your dragon, or your Dragoon, or your Dark Magician's Dragon Knight. We're playing 1 Artemis, the Magis's Moon Maiden. This is to help get your Magician's Rod off the field. So Magician's Rod does have the effect that if you activate a spell or trap during your opponent's turn, you can tribute a spellcaster and then get the rod back from your graveyard to your hand, so it helps recycle. This is the monster you would tribute most often to recycle your rod. We're then playing 1 SP Little Knight because this card is very powerful and, you know, this deck does like to banish. We're then playing an access code package, so we're playing 1 Dark, the Dark Charmer, 1 Selene, and 1 access code. So you link 2 into Dark, steal one of your opponent's dark monsters in your graveyard, link up into Selene. Sometimes you actually even have just 3 monsters to link directly into Selene. Summon another monster from your deck, from her effect, and then link her and the other monster into access code. And then you have a 5,300 attack monster on the field whose effects cannot be negated or responded to. That does it for the extra deck. Comment below what other variations of Dark Magician you guys would like to see. This is one of my favorite archetypes since I was younger, and I love playing around with different variations of Dark Magician. Hopefully it'll become more powerful one day, but for now, we can just keep making Dragoon. That does it for deck profile. This is Prince from GG and Prince, signing off.